If you're constantly pushing yourself and never refueling, you eventually burn out. And when you burn out, consistency suffers. So today we're talking about self-care. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode, and I'm so excited that you've joined me for another day in my 100-day walk to consistency. We are on day number 61. Remember, each day that you show up, each day that you are consistent, you are building another block. You're putting another block in the puzzle of your success. You are becoming more confident, you are becoming more disciplined, and you are setting yourself up for the best possibility of success. Remember, consistency is your superpower. And you, right here, right now, have the opportunity to continue building. Hey, I'll see you on the walk. So over the last several days, we've talked about a lot of different concepts. We talked about being overwhelmed. We talked about getting busy and how to stay on track and stay consistent and stay motivated. And today we're talking about a very important idea, and that is the idea of self-care. Now, when we talk about self-care, a lot of people think that this is just another spa date. They think that this is a place where you get to just go and hang out and just relax. And part of that may be true, that you do get to do those things. But self-care has to do with how you are taking time to rejuvenate, to replenish, so that when you show back up in the spaces that you need to be in, that you are able to give your complete self and you bring your A game. So part of self-care has to do with this idea of regenerating. So today we're going to talk about self-care and the essentials and why it is necessary if we're going to be successful. So grab your paper, grab your pad, as we do, and we're gonna go ahead and have a conversation, right? So and then set ourselves up, right, to make sure that we are doing the things that we need to do. Just waving at some folks that are walking by here, so that's why you saw me kind of saying hi and waving. What I love right now, it's on lunch break, and the weather is a little better than it has been actually the last couple weeks, several weeks. So anyway, so we're out. So consistency, self-care. So why is self-care fundamental, and why is it foundational to consistency? So self-care isn't just about relaxation. It's about intentionally doing the things that we need to do to energize ourselves and to do what needs to be done for our well-being. Okay? So key words in there, the things we need to do, and this concept of energizing and well-being. Okay? So let's kind of walk through those. So it's necessary. It's needed. So it is not optional. It's not that this is, often when we think about self-care, people think about being selfish, that they are taking time away from the important things, that they are wasting time, that they are not going to get everything done that they need to get done. And this is and has to be built into the things that you do in your goals. So smart goals, right? Smart goals. We have to build this idea of self-care into smart goals. So it is necessary. Okay? It's necessary. And it allows you to re-energize. One of the concepts that you probably have heard me say recently is that what we need to do is we need to be able to give from our overflow. So in order to give from our overflow, what does that mean? That means that I am so full that I have the capacity now to give to other people. And my overflow, when people get my overflow, what they're getting is a lot of times the best part of what's been happening, right? Because I'm so full, I'm so pumped, I'm so energetic that it flows over. So the energy that comes from the energy comes from self-care has to do not just with rejuvenating myself, but also rejuvenating other people. So when I'm able to take time, when I'm able to do what I need to do to replenish myself, then I become energized. When I become energized, I not only am more fulfilled, I am able to be more consistent, I'm able to be more creative, I'm able to move into that growth mindset that we talk about all the time. I'm able to problem solve, I'm able to manage disappointments better, I'm able to pivot more. See, all of these things are what happens when we're able to regenerate. And well-being, right? So it's needed, it helps to energize, and it's for my well-being. Now, there are 1,440 minutes in each day. And aside from sleeping, most of us give all of that away to somebody else. Yeah, I want that to sink in. And so our well-being is important. Our well-being is paramount if we are going to be successful and if we are actually going to do the things we need to do for other people. One of the groups of people I talk to often about this are caregivers, people whose job it is to take care of other folks, parents, people who are taking care of children, people who are taking care of someone who's ill. And they say to me, well, I can't do this. I can't go there. I can't take time because they need me. And the question I ask, and it's a tough question that we've got to face, what do you think happens to that person that you're taking care of if for some reason, because you're not taking care of yourself, you pass out, you become ill, or God forbid you pass away? Now we've put that person in a bigger predicament because we weren't taking care of ourselves. So part of the energy that we get that definitely helps people, but it also helps us to rejuvenate and helps us to stay in a space where we are not burning out and we're not having those issues, right? So for our well-being, if consistency is the engine, self-care is the fuel that keeps it lubricated and keeps it going. Right? Consistency is the engine. We say, hey, you got to be consistent. You got to do these things. You got to be in this space. You got to show up every day and moving. Well, if that's the case, then self-care is what takes care of that engine. It is oiling the right places, right? It is making sure that we're cleaning different areas. We're changing the filter, right? And I'm just going through some ideas right there. But you get the idea that you've got to take care of this amazing machine that you have access to, that you're using. Otherwise, it will cause problems. It will get damaged. And once it gets damaged, then, sometimes it's difficult and maybe even impossible to reverse some of the things that happens. Okay? So key insight. One of the key insights I want you to get is you can't pour from an empty cup. Oh man, I need to go through these videos and get some quotes, right? My quote list. You can't pour from an empty vessel. It has to have something in it to be able to pour out. So taking care of yourself is what allows you to keep showing up and allows you to remain fresh, allows you to remain relevant, right? Allows you to remain excited. You know, we talked yesterday about the lack of excitement about things. Well, sometimes we get into that space of not being excited, not because we got to pivot or we got to change or we got to make a new plan, but sometimes we're not taking care of ourselves. And remember I said that many of the things that we experience shows up in, they're kind of cross reacting with each other. And so sometimes we have to really figure out, am I really at a point where I've got to change my plan, or did I just not take care of myself and now it's showing up as my being fatigued, me not being excited, me not being able to process and think properly, right? All of that happens because we're not doing a good job of taking care of ourselves. So you show up for your goals, and you show up for those SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, right? I know I keep saying it, but that's okay. I want it to be ingrained in you. We show up for those. We show up for our work. We show up for our relationships better, stronger, faster, more attentive, more mindful, more resilient, with an expanded mindset when we are doing a good job of self-care, okay? So that's why self-care is foundational to the things that we do and foundational to our consistency. Well, there are some pillars to self-care that I want to run through. Some pillars. And these are important. You know what pillars are? Pillars are the things that hold other things up. We've talked about keystone principles, and all the things we're talking about, these are keystone principles. But these are some pillars that will help to hold your self-care up. Okay, you ready? Okay, number one, you want to have some physical self-care. Physical self-care, taking care of your body. This body that we have, this machine that we have, is what takes us through and takes us into and carries us in all aspects of our lives. This physical body. If you are driving somewhere, you're heading somewhere, and you're using a vehicle, and that vehicle is breaking down, the vehicle has, all these different things that are wrong with it. It can't officially take you there. It's sometime-ish. Do you like that word? Right, it works this time, it doesn't work that time. You can't depend on it. That makes for a very difficult trip. And so, if we are not taking care of our physical bodies, that's what's happening. That we are expecting it to do this amazing job of carrying us successfully through our lives, but we are physically not doing what we need to do to maintain the body. It's kind of like, I'm hard on my cars, but it's kind of like not taking the car to the shop, not getting the oil changed, not getting the wheels balanced, not getting them rotated, not getting anyone to do a tune-up, right? So all those things, and then I hop in the car and I expect it to drive consistently to California, or take me around the country, or whatever I want to do. And when it does, then I get upset at the car. Well, it's not the car's problem. It's not the car's fault. It's that we didn't do a good job of maintaining, doing what we need to do to maintain the car. Does that make sense? All right, so physical, so your body. It is what carries you towards your goals. So you want to prioritize some things when it comes to the physical self-care. One, you want to prioritize sleep. Yep. That's going to be top of the list, right? So the number of breakthroughs, the creativity, the depth of experiences that you will have if you're getting good rest is beyond explanation. You don't know how good it can be until you're getting adequate rest, right? So you want to prioritize sleep under the physical self-care as one of those pivotal ideas. We recommend 7 to 8 hours of restful, restorative sleep. Restful, restorative sleep. This is not just you dropping in the bed when you're exhausted, sleeping for a couple of hours, and getting up and going at it again. Your body rejuvenates, it replenishes, it reorganizes. All of that happens during sleep. And if you're not doing a good job of that, then you're putting your body at jeopardy when it comes to the physical. You want to eat nutritional food, nutrient-dense foods, not calorie-dense. Calorie-dense foods are those candy bars that are packed with calories in a small space. Those are calorie-dense. Nutritional, nutrient-dense foods, you may hear me talk about what's called balanced bites. So every bite that we take, every bite counts towards our body. And if we do a good job of fueling the body and giving it what it needs in terms of nutrition, then we set it up for the best possibility of success, right? So whole foods, and I'm going to go through it. These are balanced bites. This is what balanced bites. This is what it should look like. Whole foods, minimize processing, no added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats, appropriate portion control, starchy and non-starchy vegetables, and it has to be tasty. That's right. Don't bring me no bad tasting food, okay? So that is the list that makes a balanced bite. Your food sends signals to your body. We think it's all about the calories, but the food also sends signals to the body. And if we don't do a good job of providing the food that it needs, then the signals that it gets can be very detrimental and can cause other issues to the system, okay? So make sure that you're prioritizing. And then move daily. Look at that. See how that comes back around? Because that's what we were in the process of doing. We are moving, we're walking. You might be rowing, you might be lifting, you might be doing yoga, you might be stretching, you might be swimming, right? So we're moving, right? And you're on a daily basis getting some activity in. People say, oh, I exercise 3 times a week. Well, what about the other times, right? Daily. Can I say daily again? Yeah, you want to exercise daily. Get some activity in. And it doesn't have to be the same thing, right? So today you're walking. Tomorrow you might be swimming. Next week you might be jogging. The next day you might be doing some yoga. Maybe you're in karate class. Maybe you're taking taekwondo. Maybe you're meditating. So, well, not meditating, but unless you're moving while you're meditating, okay? So make it exciting. Make it fun. And one of the things someone has asked me is, when I stop walking, what do I do then, right? So we'll talk more about that as we go. But anyway, so you want to move daily. The next pillar is mental and emotional self-care. On our show, Dwain Woode MD Live, we are walking through what's called the pillars of health, right? And our last episode was on mental health and how mental health can influence our metabolism, right? Yeah, you didn't know that happens, but it can. Our emotional health, we did that last week, how that impacts our metabolism, how that sets us up for, if we're not careful, sets us up for diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol and obesity and polycystic ovarian syndrome and on and on and on, right? So self-care is very important when it comes to our mental health and our emotional health. So a cluttered mind tends to have difficulty processing, tends to have difficulty problem solving, tends to have difficulty with creativity, tends to have difficulty with a growth mindset, tends to have difficulty with resilience, right? So look at, and that was just stuff off the top of my head. Imagine all the other things that are being inhibited because your mind is cluttered, because you've not spent time to care for your mental health and allow it to stay focused and motivated. So some key thoughts here, key habits. One way to be sure that you are doing what you need to do mentally is to develop a journaling practice. A journaling practice where every day you're sitting down and you are processing what's been happening with you, right? Journaling it's transformative. I can't tell you how beneficial that has been in my life in so many different instances, so many different spaces. It allows you to look at the things that have been going on. It allows you to look back and see where you were so you can see growth, right? So that's one of the things you can give to your inner coach and say, oh, look at me, look at what I've done, look at how I've changed, right? It gives you an outline for some of the things that we need to do in our lives, right? So you're working through a procedure, you're working through something in your office, something in your life, some financial issues that you're dealing with. And so this gives you a document, it gives you a record of what's been happening. So you can look back and say, okay, I can do this, but I'll tweak this thing here, or this was great and I want to replicate it. If you don't have it written down, it becomes difficult, right? So journaling, very important. The next thing is setting boundaries to protect your energy and protect your time. If you don't set boundaries, then everything around you will conspire to take your time. And it's like you will suck up time doing things that you're like, well, why did I do that? I know that I got this other thing over here to do. I didn't spend any time with that, but I spent all my time doing this thing over here, right? So you want to make sure that you are protecting your time. Block it out on the calendar. Block out your morning routine. Block out your evening routine. Block out your mindfulness as you go through the day. Set that alarm so that it reminds you, and don't let people or situations defer you from that, right? Or move you away from that. And then you want to reduce unnecessary stress. Now, I'm gonna tell you, this is a whole conversation on its own, right? We can do a whole series of episodes on reducing stress, because stress can be insidious, and we can get into situations and not realize how the stress is affecting us in terms of our physical health, maybe our mental health, our emotional health, and certainly things like disease processes can be exacerbated, or they can be brought on by stress. And so reducing stress is vital to the things that we do. It's vital to our ability to be successful and to take care of ourselves, right? So I know we can delve deeper into stress. I'm trying not to just jump in there, right? Because we're coming back and talking more about that at another time. But reducing stress, whether you need to work on breathing techniques, you need to do the 4-7-8. You breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7 seconds, you breathe out. You've got to learn how to prioritize and organize so that you're not always running at the last minute to do things. You've got to work on procrastination. You got to work on self-doubt. You got to work on your self-esteem. You got to work on confidence. You got to work on consistency, right? So whatever it takes to minimize my stress. I got to work on relationships, for example. All of that is part of what we need to do if we're going to talk about dealing with stress. So it's not just about, okay, I'm not going to be stressed. Well, what's causing it, and how do I address those things, right? So very, very much important. Okay, and then social self-care, right? Physical self-care we talked about, mental and emotional, and then social self-care, very, very important. The power of connection. Before I even jump into some of this, let me say we are built for connection. We are built to be social, okay? Now, there are people who will say to me, well, I like being by myself. I don't want to be around people. And there are exceptions. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule. But the general rule is that we are built for connection. And even those people who say that they like being by themselves, they have developed that over a lifetime of challenges, sometimes hurts. Sometimes people have caused trauma, and so we've moved ourselves away from them. We're unsure about ourselves, and so we don't want to be in the space where people are judging us, right? So lots of different reasons why people are out there saying that they don't want to be in connection. And perhaps one of the things that we've got to do, I shouldn't say perhaps, but one of the things that we've got to do with those situations are to work to make sure that we have dealt with all of the issues that may be contributing to that. And once we've done that, if that still remains, then okay, we'll accept that you like to be by yourself. But until we've exhausted those concepts, and until we've done what we need to do to make sure that we're dealing with the trauma, the hurt, the history, the memory, the pain, then we can't just accept that. Okay? All right. Now, I guess the other point to make here is that when I say connection, there are people who get rejuvenated by being by themselves, right? So they go out, they're in public, and they do great, but they get energy, right, from being by themselves. And you may be one of those, but the connection is still real. the need for connection is still real. Okay, the energy comes from, okay, I got to go back and be by myself and kind of rejuvenate and not have to talk to a bunch of people. But the benefit of the connection is very important. Okay, so you're not meant to do these things alone. So strong relationships give you energy, and they give you accountability, and they allow you to be successful. Allows you to set yourself up to be consistent. So because we are designed for community, because we're designed not to be by ourselves, it is very important that we make all attempts to feed that part of ourselves. Okay, some key thoughts here. Number one, spending time with people is great, but you want to make sure that you are spending time with uplifting people. So I don't want to be the detractors. I don't want to be with the people who are naysayers. I don't want to be with the people who are negative. I don't want to be with the people who are always complaining. Right? If I'm going to be with people that I'm connecting with, I want to be with people who are uplifting, who are in a growth mindset. People who are not tearing me down, pushing me down, who don't negate everything I say, who allow me to be my authentic and vulnerable self. Okay? Very important. Next, communicating openly and asking for help when needed is important. So if we're going to be vulnerable, as we've talked about, if we're going to be authentic, then we've got to be able to talk to people and say, hey, I'm not feeling well today. Hey, I need your help today. Recently, I sent a text out to many of my my groups. So I belong to a lot of chats and so forth. And I just sent a message out to say, hey, I'm having one of those days. Think about me, pray for me, okay? Send me good energy today. And that is important because I had to, and people called me, sent me texts and so forth, but the connection was real. And I had to know that there were people out there that were supporting me, that would love me, that had my best interests at their heart, okay? So reach out, let them know that you need help. And then limit the time, as we talked about, limit the time with negative people, okay? People who are critical, people who are toxic. Don't put yourself in environments like that, right? You already have things that you've got to overcome. Why put yourself in a situation where you've got to overcome just another critical, negative area, okay? So don't do that to yourself. And then another pillar is rest and play. Come on, right? Now, you heard me say at the beginning, a lot of people think that self-care is all about a spa date. And it is not just about that. But a spa date, sure enough, is included. My son and my wife and I have recently, we've been actually doing this family trip, once a year for, maybe the last 7 years. I think it was 7. I think it's 7. But at some point, it occurred to me that the things that I am most excited about when I get together with my brothers and sisters, when we talk about history, when we talk about back when, we talk about the experiences, the things we were doing together, those shared experiences that builds those bonds. And so we started doing that. So rest and play. So if you never take breaks, then your body and mind will force you to take a break. And you do not want to be forced to take a break. Let me walk down here. I was waiting for these cars to move, but right? So you don't want to be forced. So you want to build into your day. You want to build into your life, build into your plans. You want to build in time when you can take a break and you can rest from the things that you're doing, right? So take a trip. I told you guys that I have my 2 groups, well, more than 2 groups, but 2 groups of friends that I go away with. Right? We go to Jamaica once a year, and the other one we travel around the country here once a year, right? So 2 different groups. And then we've got our trip with my family that we do once a year. And then this year we have, or not this year, but these last several years, we've made some intentional trips to go see ball games, right? My son and I and my wife decided that we were going to try to see all the NBA teams play at home, okay? And so we're on the trek to do that. And it's a shared experience, and it's something that we all look forward to. Where we're looking, okay, when is that game? We were in New York recently, and it worked out that we didn't get to see a game, but we weren't there for a game. We were there for something else. And we're like, hey, who's playing? And it happened that they were playing, but it was snowing, and we had to catch a flight. So that didn't quite work out. But there's this excitement that, okay, we're here. Let's go see this game, okay? So make that a part of your plan. Rest is part of the process. It is not a break from it. So we're not taking a break from the process to rest, but we have built rest into the process so that it is actually a thing that we do, okay? So scheduling downtime before burnout happens is paramount. Because if you don't, guess what? You're gonna burn out. Engaging in hobbies or fun activities, right? So I'm working on my bass, pulled out my bass recently. Haven't been playing it for a while, but pulled it out and started getting back in there. So that's fun. That's fun for me. My son plays the piano, so I told him, hey, I'm gonna pull my bass out. Maybe I'll come in here and we can play some things together. He's a growing young man, and recently I said to him, hey, we're gonna buy some weights and we're gonna get together, me and you, and we're gonna start a workout routine. All right, so all of these are things for downtime. It's for connection. It's for building my body. It's for enhancing my outlook on life. All of that helps. And then practice mindfulness and quiet times. Very, very, very important. Give yourself, give your brain, give your mind some time where it just is just being, right? So we spend so much time doing things that we don't just sometimes sit and just exist, right? My son says to me a lot when I say, hey, what's going on? What are you thinking about? What are you doing? He said, I'm just existing. And I had to tell my wife, I said, when we as guys sometimes say there's nothing on my mind, there is nothing on my mind. I'm just sitting here, I'm just existing. And sometimes we've got to be mindful, and sometimes we just have to exist. Right? All right, so are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's see. Are you ready for the challenge? Are you ready for the challenge? Well, before we get there, let me talk about a couple other things. How do we build self-care routines that support consistency? How do we build self-care? You ready? Schedule self-care like an appointment. Put it in your list, okay? Make a time. Okay, I'm gonna be doing self-care. I don't schedule time. If you currently don't schedule time for recharging, make sure you're doing that. Block off some self-care activities, 10 minutes maybe, 15 minutes, whatever it takes, but make sure it's on the calendar, right? So this is how we're building self-care into our routine for consistency. Create small daily self-care habits. What are some things you can do on a daily basis that are consistent with self-care? It doesn't have to be time consuming. Small actions done daily are very important, like drinking water, walking, meditation, right? All of those, being mindful, taking a break and looking out the window, playing some music. All of those are small activities you can do that build up into great benefit. Then listen to your body and listen to your mind. I can't tell you the number of times that my body is telling me something, like go to sleep. Or that's not a good idea to do that. You're gonna hurt that arm or that leg, right? So make sure that you are listening to your body and listening to your mind. And then give yourself permission to rest without feeling guilt. Self-care has gotten a bad rap because often we say, hey, I am taking time away from something else to do this, and I feel like I'm cheating. I feel like I'm not doing what I need to do. But self-care is very, very important. Okay? All right. So now let's get to the challenge, and let's go ahead and grab your paper, grab your journal out, and we're creating our own self-care plan. So number one, in the journal, we're going to say, are you currently doing self-care? Are you currently doing something enough? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you moving every day? Are you engaged with community every day? Okay? So what are you doing? When was the last time that you truly relaxed? And if you can't say that, hey, I did this, whenever, then that's a time that you've got to make sure that you're doing a good job. Okay, so look back and say, okay, well, did I do some self-care? And then you want to choose one self-care habit to prioritize. So something small, something simple. Drink more water, get more exercise, connect with a friend, schedule time for mindfulness, whatever it is, you want to pick one of those and you want to schedule it. So self-care is not optional. It is necessary. It's needed. And I want to make sure that you are doing everything you can to take care of yourself, because as we care for our bodies, as we care for ourselves, our minds, our emotions, then we set ourselves up for the best possibility of success. I'm so glad you're here to join me on another day for my 100-day walk to consistency. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for Endocrinology. I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. I'll see you on the walk.